house for John Wick 4.
That's right, we are on to John Wick Chapter 4. We have never done a John Wick movie on here because no one wanted to do them with me for a long time. Jess and Nicole because of no interest, and Mama K because she does not want anything to do with the inciting incident for the John Wick series, the involving a dog. She does not want that.
This is true. I'm shocked that I embarked on John Wick 4.
Embarked? With a bark.
Woof.
John Wick 4. So what's going on here? John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table and earning his freedom. Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. This has a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes with a 93 with the audience, 8.2 on IMDb, and 78 Metacritic. Those are some high scores, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
They also have big box office numbers.
100 million budget with 350 and change at the box office right now, which is pretty solid for an R-rated movie. It's the fourth in the series, and it's already made the most money, and we'll talk about the series going forward, because there are pathways and also spoilers there. So if you haven't seen John Wick Chapter 4, it's in theaters now, not streaming anywhere, so that's your only choice, theaters. And we are going to spoil John Wick Chapter 4 now. So before we go through, you hadn't seen the movies, but okay, did you know anything about John Wick's world, what he does, anything about anything?
You know, I've only seen like snippets here and there on regular TV, and the only thing I really knew about it outside of the dog situation was that he was getting vengeance, because that's where these movies always live, in Vengeance World, and that there was a hotel. That's pretty much it. I didn't understand what the hotel was. So
this will be
coming in totally blank. And
yeah, it'll be good hearing what you not hearing you having not seen the other three, if you were able to understand anything that was going on here. So we'll see.
Yeah, I have questions.
New York City is where we start, and John Wick prepares to exact his revenge against the High Table, the big bads of the series. And he's training with the Bowery King. That's an old friend of his. And he travels to Morocco to kill the Elder, the one who sits above the table. And he kills him. But in response to this, the table sends Marquis Vincent de Gramont, who is a high-ranking member of the High Table, and he is ordered to shut down the New York Continental, which is run by Winston. That's Ian McShane. And because he helps John Wick, who was excommunicado, so you're not supposed to help John Wick when he's excommunicado. And so the Vincent de Gramont destroys the New York Continental Hotel and kills Chiron, the concierge, played by the late Lance Reddick. I didn't know he was going to die in this movie, and then also die in real life afterwards.
Yeah,
very sad. But at least he was given a noble, vengeful death. So this is where things are happening at this point. John Wick's being pursued by a new French Bill Skarsgård villain.
He's a new guy?
He's a new guy, yeah. Bill Skarsgård's a new guy. Winston and Bowery King are old frenemies.
Right.
So they got them there, and then we got Kane who comes in. Kane is a new character played by Donnie Yen, and he is a blind former assassin who's got this daughter locked up by High Table, and High Table's like, you gotta kill John Wick if you want to see your daughter. Classic High Table moves. And so for 3 hours almost, John Wick fights everybody with, 6 to 12 other characters bouncing around. And that's John Wick Chapter 4. Okay, what did you think of this film?
Good synopsis. What do we talk about? That's very interesting that some of these characters are new. They felt like they were established characters, I guess, because people in this universe that are already like them, like the Bill Skarsgård character, the Marquis.
Did everyone feel like an old character? Did everyone feel lived in?
Pretty much, I think.
That's impressive.
Yeah, everybody sort of felt like an old character. I'm not sure about the guy with the dog.
Oh yeah, Mr. Nobody.
He sort of came in somewhere. It felt like he was kind of there just as a extra mercenary. Like they need more of these people.
I think Winston. I think Winston and the Bowery King are the only returning characters.
Oh,
there's other like things in here that come back, and I think the one when we get to the Russian stuff, I think some of those characters are supposed to be like nods to earlier characters, but I don't think they're literally any of the old characters. But yeah,
because all the relationships seem established. Like, when you
a very lived-in universe.
Yeah, and when you say frenemies, I mean, that's what everybody is. It seems like everybody's your friend until somebody takes out or the table or whatever takes out a hit on you, and then now all of a sudden you're enemies, which kept sort of happening back and forth a lot. Only on John Wick, pretty much, through the movie. So, I mean, he's... The table apparently doesn't like him. I don't really understand what is the table, and this guy that he killed in the beginning, you said he was above the table. What does that mean?
He was an elder who was known as the one who sits above the table. He's just more important.
So you don't know what that means either?
Not really. I mean, the table is a shadow organization of people running things. There's no... I don't know what they do. Like, I don't know what their business is, what their goods or services they provide are exactly.
Right, and they're not bound by country, so they're like the CIA or the KGB, but they're not that.
They're like a shadow government kind of thing.
Shadow company. Yeah. Yeah. But they sure do make a fucking mess everywhere they go. So it feels like their shadowness is not going to be tolerated by. I mean, there are no government entities in this, so I get the feeling that the movie itself feels a little surreal in that it doesn't exist, in the real world. Maybe there isn't government. There aren't governments to govern people. I mean, it's not Wild Wild West everywhere. Everyone else you sort of see, which is not a lot of people, they seem to conform to regular standards that we would have in our society today. But all the characters in the movie do not. They're all
in the earlier movies. It would make you would believe to yourself that Hit Manning is just like what everyone is and can do at all times. Like in the other ones, there are like a woman will be walking down the street with a baby carriage, and then a guy will pop out of the baby carriage with a gun. Like there's the whole universe is built on everyone is it's like a 12-year-old's daydream kind of thing.
Fever dream.
Yeah, he's looking at the window, hasn't been interrupted. His daydream hasn't been interrupted for like 20 minutes, so the world's really built out now, and everyone's just an assassin, a different cool assassin, but like for some reason commerce works. That's the kind of world this is.
A different cool assassin, and the thing is that the first part of this takes place outside of what takes place in the desert takes place in Asia. So there's a heavy emphasis on swords and bows and arrows for some reason. Not the most effective way to fight. Guns are usually more effective.
A lot more swords and bows and arrows than in the prior ones. I mean, there's always been melee weapons. The pencil is iconic, but this is more gun fu. Typically,
and I didn't understand in the beginning because they didn't tell me that everybody's outfits were like Kevlar, so I didn't understand. People were getting shot point blank range, and I'm like,
Kevlar
why? What is happening? And then when later on in the movie, when John Wick gets his own Kevlar suit, then I'm like, okay, I guess I understand. And why he keeps like putting his hand in front of his face. He's not really doing that. He's pulling his jacket up so that he doesn't get shot in the face or knifed in the face or sworded or arrowed or whatever in the face. I feel like I entered this world pretty easily. I was very concerned, honestly, that I wasn't going to have background. And
you were able to accept the circumstances you were given?
I was. I felt bummed that there were probably things that I didn't catch because I didn't have background in it, because I do like, cinematic universes. I like those, and I like Easter eggs and things like that. So I was concerned that there was going to be more of that than there actually was. This is really just like, let's go to this country and fight the longest fight ever. But wait, there's more. How about if we go here and have a poker game and fight the longest fight? No. Wait a minute. Hold my beer. Have you seen the Arc de Triomphe? Yeah, we're doing that. And then it's like, well, that's not enough. Let's go up the 222 steps of Montmartre. And then that's your biggest fight ever. So it was just one big long fight after another. And I'm going to stop talking there. Let you talk a little.
This is how I only saw the third John Wick in theaters because I hadn't seen the first two. I was a late convert, I guess, and I caught up with the first two, and they're both fine. Like I thought they were both fine. I didn't really love them. They were like the first one's very simple, stripped down. Guys kill. It's kind of Fast and Furious syndrome, where like in the first one they're like stealing VCRs, and then in the 10th one they're like using magnet ships for the CIA to fight like super governments. So you know you have to. It kind of escalates. This one, it's a bunch of John Wick's wife dies, leaves him his dog. And leaves him this dog, and then one day he's like coming home, and the guy's like, "Hey, I want to buy your car," and he's like, "It's not for sale." And then they rob him and murder his dog and steal his car, and then the whole first movie is just revenge on that. And then the second one, you open it up a little bit, you introduce the table in that one, and you have a couple other characters. I think that's the Willem Dafoe one, and then the third one is where you blow it open. And that's where you are in the Continental a lot more. Like there's more Hitman world. I think the third one's where they really like find their stride and be like, this isn't just guys are after this old badass Hitman. The whole universe is nothing but Hitmen, and every job is a Hitman
after him. Yeah.
Or like everyone's either Hitman or associated with Hitman, and everyone has a phone that goes off at the exact same time saying John Wick $20 million, go get him. Like everyone on the planet, and they just like balls to the wall, go for it, and it's much like my Top Gun thing. They need to just execute the perfect action, and this is the franchise that executes the perfect action. And number 4, now that we're here, this was my favorite one by far. I've already seen this twice. I can't wait to go back again while it's still in theaters. It's awesome. I love this movie so much. It's my favorite
kind of
one.
Movie. That's kind of crazy.
No, it's not. The first 3, I like this fourth one so much more than the other 3, and I still haven't really figured out why. I think the fight sequences have just reached that level. The new characters we introduced, because we've had other of these campy, like, one-note characters. I said the Willem Dafoe character. Halle Berry was in the last one. Like, they have these, like, silly, like, and that's what everyone else in this movie is. Everyone's playing it so over the top. Ian McShane and what's his name? Morbius, not Morbius. Yeah, Morbius.
Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah, talk about Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, I just like how they're hamming it up, and like they playing it so big and over the top and like silly. And then John Wick is Keanu Reeves, who is not a good like actor. And so
I beg to differ with that.
No, everyone's he's so bad. Listen
to me.
Bad.
Hear me out. Everyone gives him shit for being a bad actor. I just think he's a really bad action actor. Like,
no, he's terrible.
No,
I think
action
he's star.
No, I know, but it is unnerving sometimes because out of the, I forgot how many words he speaks, but it's like 300 and something, I believe, in this movie. The least
he says that many words. I'm shocked.
Has ever spoken. Well, most of them, they said most of them are. Yeah.
No, that's his catchphrase.
Words.
It is his catchphrase in this movie.
So, yeah, maybe not, you know. I think that when he speaks all the words that he speaks in this movie, it takes me out every time because I'm like, I would be more happy with a completely mute John Wick.
He would
to hear that.
His lines just sound like because he still sounds like Bill and Ted sometimes when he talks.
Sometimes, yeah. If he has more than 2 or 3 words in a row, he definitely sounds like Bill. Like the next one out of his mouth is gonna be, "Whoa." You know?
Exactly. Yeah, he has this. When he goes to Winston after his concierge of 4 films or whatever has died, and like a beloved character that's Lance Reddick's actually was one of the few returning characters, and he has to be like, I'm sorry for your loss. And then and then and then Ian McShane has to like look at him like, oh my god, yes, yeah, like, and, like that's why it's just like feels like them fucking around. Lawrence Fishburne, who's been just like Keanu's buddy since The Matrix, and now he just brings him on whenever he's got a chance to. And I like that you feel that energy coming through.
Yeah.
The fights are so good. They're just so wonderful. I my favorite is which apparently I learned before this was the chosen nap time for you is the nightclub, the nightclub poker scene with the big dude with the big bald dude who he fights. It's like that's like the perfect why John Wick works so well. If you do start of that scene to the end, I'm like that's 15 minutes is why this is the best and why it works so well. And I
don't feel like I really missed anything, though. I felt like the other fights were so good that I don't know that one could have topped it. I might have, I did have to watch a couple of fairly long fight scenes, and I was a little tired by that point, so I had to nod off just a little bit. But apparently, I missed that whole scene. So.
Yeah, you didn't know who the big bald dude was at all. And I'm like,
I had no
he was
idea.
in a whole at least 15-minute chunk of the movie, and it's like it's like my favorite like 12-year-old boy fantasy sequence where like it's like a pulsating nightclub. There's a bunch of water features falling down, and like thousands of people are dancing all around, and like club lights and. Ian, I don't know why I said Ian. John Wick is making his way through the crowd with his gun drawn. There's a lot of slow-mo and a lot of like heavy techno, and the big guy's running through, and sometimes he's afraid and he's running away from John Wick, but then sometimes he's big and posing, and he throws John Wick around and smashes him on poles, and then they're fighting in the water, and the dancers are flying everywhere, and it's so good. It's just like so like visually stimulating, and that's after the really tense poker hand, which is super over the top and dumb and silly. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, I missed all of that. I think it was too actiony for me. Sometimes too much action. My brain overheats. Can't handle it. Got to take a little nap. But I don't feel like I missed a whole lot. I did come to at the end of that where there was this realization that he was going to have to rejoin a Russian something or another to be able to continue on his path of...
Yeah, so the whole actual like literal plot of the movie is everyone's trying to kill John Wick still. After the reason he's excommunicado is what they call it, which means you are no longer a hit person and you cannot use any of like the continental resources.
Yeah, why can't everyone just leave him alone?
Because in the end of the second one, he killed somebody on continental grounds, and that's a no-no.
Okay.
Yeah, but then in this movie, they kill like a whole continental. Actually, they kill 2 whole continentals, so I guess...
You mean like the hotel? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like you can't
and
conduct
then the place
business.
In Japan.
Yeah, exactly. The place, that was continental
in Osaka.
Yeah. It's like a chain, a chain of hitman hotels. Because
no one wants to stay at your comfort inn, buddy. I mean, because that's not comfortable at all.
But you notice, like, whenever they walk into, like, a building, there's someone there to collect all their firearms, like, every time they walk in the door anywhere. Because that's just the world they live in. It's just constant hitman attacks. The Russian family was in another one. They gave him some vague backstory of how he was, like, trained there, and I think Angelica Houston's in one of them, and she's, like, part of that organization. I don't know, she might be dead now, I don't remember. But, yeah.
I know that the girl that was there this time was from Harry Potter.
Yeah, Tonks. I recognize her. She's Black Mirror too,
and About a Boy. She was in About a Boy.
Oh yeah, she was. Yeah. The conceit of the movie is Bill Skarsgård represents the table in this one, and they any means necessary kill John Wick, and then Ian McShane's like, "Oh, John, if you challenge him to a duel like in the olden days, then he'll have to accept." Right. And he's like, "Oh." Instead of the John Wick line or Keanu line.
Why didn't somebody tell me this in John Wick 1?
I thought that was a myth. Like they literally there must be a word count on like he can't say over 10 words in a row in like one scene or it will break. It'll break the suspension of disbelief.
The longest line he says is when he's talking to Kane when they're fighting in that first sequence or the second sequence, I forget what it is, and he says, we know that we are not the good guys anymore, or that the good life has already passed us. We're in the bad life now, or something. It's like the longest thing he has to say the whole movie.
Back and forth in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
And so Bill Skarsgård has to kill him because High Table, and then John Wick, he can win in a duel, but he needs to be represented by a family member, and that's why he has to go kill big guy with the gold teeth, is because the Russian family will like rehab him back in if he goes and takes care of some business, kind of like Mandalorian style. We're like, oh, you want this thing? Well, you go on the side quest for us first, and then we'll give you the thing. So,
right.
not super.
Because family always makes you do things, in order to get something.
Yeah, it's at one point. Did you see when they captured him and they had him hanging, and he said, "We have a common enemy."
Oh no, I don't think I saw that either.
Yeah. It was not good. So that's the reason he has to get that, and so he can duel Bill Skarsgård at the end, and then Bill Skarsgård's a fraidy cat, so he goes the Warriors. You've seen the Warriors, right? From the 70s.
I love the Warriors. Yes,
the end is the Warriors. It's so awesome. The lady gets
totally
on
that.
The lady gets on the voice comms like, "Oh, you crazy cats!
Yes.
John Wick's coming to the studio," or whatever she says, and then it's the Warrior.
Right.
Like gangs of people come after him while she gives announcements over the radio. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly what that reminded me of. I was just like, why do this is so visually familiar to me, and I didn't think about the Warriors. That's exactly what it is.
It's got to be like, I was waiting for the guy, the "Can you dig it?" guy who just like stands in the middle of everything. Like it should have been there. It was pure Warriors homage.
Yeah.
This is just like, I say this like I did like for his Top Gun. Like I recognized it on like a level of a moviegoer, but I didn't quite like love it. Like I just like, it's really good action. Like it's super solid. I have no real complaints about it. Whereas this one, it's that same thing, but I love it. I love I've bought into the world, and I'm part of this. I'm part of this now. I'm super in.
That's so interesting because I mean the story is really basic, and the acting isn't great. The only thing that's really great about this movie is the action sequences. I mean, it's really great. I would argue that the action sequences in Top Gun were also great. Not as prolific. There weren't, he didn't go up against death every second of the movie, basically, like John Wick.
It's just a different type of action. It's a
totally different type of action, but it's interesting that everything else about this movie is perfunctory, and then the action is what does it.
It also looks. I love how beautiful.
You're right. I was just gonna say, you know what? It's really well made.
So that's the thing where when you say when we were watching a piece of shit rom-com, and they're like, but it's in an island, so it's got nice beaches, so got to give it a point for that. Like this is my version of that, where it's awesome kills, but like also like there's neon lights flashing and there's pulsating like electronic music, and everyone's in suits and their suits are bulletproof. Like it's like that's the kind of cool. That's the kind of like that's like my kind of like. That's my pretty. That's my in quotations.
That's like
pretty.
Bougie cool. You know what I mean? This is rich people's cool. Nobody else has this kind of stuff. There are regular people walking amongst the earth, but not these people.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe in the real world, but even here, like every job is an employment related to tending to hitmen. Like I don't think we've seen a single profession. The switchboard operator ladies, they're actually from the earlier movies. The ones who are in like the radio tower when that room of women is apparently all over the place, just like heavily tatted up, like old school. But it's like that old school like plug-in call board thing that they would use in like the 50s. Like
that gave me some really weird, like bizarre Wes Anderson vibes. Honestly. It felt so weirdly contrived, but it totally worked in this world. Blade Runner-y meets Wes Anderson.
I don't know if John Wick's ever been compared to Wes Anderson. I'm trying to think of two more different visual styles. Two more good.
That's
visual,
what I'm.
Different.
That's what I'm sticking with.
Did you have a favorite action sequence? You said you were struggling. We're not struggling, just from the length of some of them, because they are. This is an almost 3-hour movie. It is.
Yeah.
The fights are long.
The fights are long, but so listen. So I think of it as which one. I think the first one was interesting and introductive. It took entirely where they're in like. I don't even know. See, the thing is I don't recognize that place. I don't recognize that venue in Osaka. Like, it's just a room that has a bunch of glass things in it.
That's part of the cool of like, that's not like a real room, but like it looks cool to fight in. That's like what, like the kind of thing, that's the same kind of thing in the nightclub. Like, it doesn't make sense there's 1,000 people dancing under water fixtures while there's a gunfight and like fist fight happening, but
no, I take it apart that there's all that type of action going on in that space. It's the space I don't care about. I guess here we are again where it's like, I like things that are identifiable to me. So they go to the Arc de Triomphe and they have this crazy car chase / running people over. And I thought, there's only so many ways you can run someone over. There's only so many ways you can hit them and flip them. And there really is, but I never got tired of that sequence. Not one time. I was like, no, they're going awesome. With traffic. They're going against traffic. People are getting wrapped around light poles, which I found really funny. I really loved that sequence, but then we got to the 222 stairs, and I was like, "Oh my god! Oh my god!" Stairs. I loved the stairs so much, and I loved that at the beginning, you know, John Wick's looking at his watch. He's only got like 6 minutes left or whatever to get to the top before sunrise. And the look on, at that point, I choose to believe it was Keanu Reeves' face as opposed to John Wick's face, was like, oh my God, what? Why? I mean, there's a funicular that goes up the side that you don't have to take the stairs. I don't think it's open at 5:45 in the morning, but maybe it is. I'll be like, I'm going to get on the train. I'll get on the train. Thanks very much. Yeah, that was great. I would put those two on the same, on even par, honestly, for me. I loved the car stuff. Possibly because the people flying in the air, I just thought was great. But people rolling down the stairs, and then when we get to the point where he gets to the top of the stairs and then something happens, and
when he gets to go up when he goes all the way, like I don't know what your theater experience was like. Both the first time I went, there was probably like a dozen people.
Yes.
The second time I went, there was like 3 or 4 dozen people. I went like a week and a half. No, I didn't go. Like I jumped in like 2/3 of the way into the movie, or a third of the way into the movie because another movie ended. But it was much more full. And when he falls down the stairs all the way, there's just so much.
Yep.
Oh no! Yeah. Like everyone, it's just so many audible. Like because
it's like watching a cartoon. Done. You know what I mean? You only see that kind of stuff in cartoons because real people don't want to be doing that, rolling down stairs like that.
And it's just like, like the whole thing. He has to go up the whole thing again,
right?
Like, and he just like and all like a whole fresh crop of bad guys all spawned, and now they're all coming back down. But now he's got Donnie Yen coming up with him, so it'll work out. Everyone gets their shining moments. Mr. Nobody and the dog gets their moment with that one guy.
Yeah, but he kind of pieces out.
Yeah, after that he's just like, because he's not really involved in the final thing. He was hired to be a hitman, and then John Wick saved his dog, and then he's like, right. David, like I like dogs. John Wick likes dogs. Well, I guess we're good.
We're buddies now.
There's like a hitman code, or like just protect the dogs. That's part of the John Wick universe. There's always a couple of dogs running around, and they're always important. You're always worried about them too, because you know what can happen in this world. Yeah,
but I think that you would have warned me of that.
No, I would have told you. I told you beforehand. I was like, no dogs meet the end in this movie and
die. Yeah,
there's only
but
one
there
dog
were
in this
people
movie.
On fire, which is another issue that I have, and I had to kind of turn away a little bit.
That sequence was awesome. The overhead shot,
that felt like it was you were in a first person shooter game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I said
looking at everything from the top, and you're in. I couldn't tell whether they took the top off the building for our own point of view, or whether that was actually a building that didn't have a top on it?
I'm sure it was just a very large set they built in a
Well, I know.
warehouse or something.
I know, but what was the point of it? Not what's the point of it, because the point of it was just so we could watch these guys go around,
Yeah, the point of it is this movie is made by a bunch of stunt people who just like, let's make a movie. Like Chad Stahelski's the director. He was, I believe, John Wick's stunt double on Matrix, and he's directed.
Wow, interesting.
And he's directed him and Keanu are the only two I think they've been on this whole franchise together. And Chad Stahelski's directed 4 movies, and they are the 4 John Wick films. So he's stuck with.
Interesting.
He's stuck with the other. There's other members of this group that have gone off to make other things, like David Leitch and Derek Kolstad make other things. I think David Leitch worked on a Deadpool, maybe. Kolstad
that
wrote
name
for.
Actually sounds familiar. Yeah,
I think Kolstad is part of the ones who made Nobody with Bob Odenkirk.
Mm-hmm. That also makes more sense now. Well, I mean, these movies must take a bit because...
Oh, did Leitch make Bullet Train? I think David Leitch made Bullet Train.
Oh, love Bullet Train. I'm worried that my taste in movies is shifting a little bit.
I know. Bullet Train was your number 1 last year, wasn't it? And now you're coming in like John Wick.
Bullet Train was my number 1. How can that happen?
What's happening?
What is happening? I'm in an alternate universe. Now I'm in a John Wick universe. Yeah, so what happens once we get to the top, once he finally gets to the top of the stairs for a second time, after he's been beaten the hell up? Has he been shot at this point? I'm not sure if he's been shot
he's
at this
been
point.
Shot.
I know he's been knifed.
He's been shot in his jacket. I don't know if he's been shot.
Well, yeah, in the jacket. But
yeah, the conclusion's at the top. That's like the final duel with Bill Skarsgård's character and
sun's coming up.
The guy, he gets there just in time with Donnie Yen's help. But now Donnie Yen is like, it's again another frenemy, a friend from the past, but now they're on opposite sides. So Donnie Yen has to work for Bill Skarsgård, and they have to do the old school pistol duel, the 30 paces or whatever, and they take some shots upon one another. And the I think they get 2 shots in, then the third shot goes. Donnie Yen hits John Wick hard enough where he's like goes down, and then Bill Skarsgård's like, I want the coup de grace. I want to be the one to finish off John Wick. So he tags in, and Donnie Yen's like, all right, as long as my daughter's free. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever, your daughter's free. And so he goes in there, and then I think Ian McShane, who's like bet on John Wick, he's like bet his hotel and like his life. I don't really exactly know how his side bet's interesting, but he's like, you idiot, he didn't take a shot yet. And then John Wick pulls out his third shot and kills him right there. Kills Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, right in the head. Solid.
So, and then the great Clancy Brown, who is the High Table's, I don't know, what is he, like liaison, events coordinator, senior director of events coordination. Clancy Brown's like, all right, Donnie Yen and John Wick, you're free to go now. And then he just walks away, and then like servants come out and like
all shot up.
All right, everyone's good. We good now. The whole city's like burning down. So that's
dead guys
I guess
everywhere.
That's the High Table's problem. They run everything, so they must clean up these scraps.
I guess.
It's one of my. There's like little like comedy bits in here too, just because of some of the absurdism. But like when John Wick looks, when Clancy Brown's explaining the rules, and then he's explaining that Ian McShane bet, like, I don't exactly know what his bet is, but he's like, you have to reinstate my position and rebuild my castle if John Wick kills you, and if not, then I also die. I don't really know what his bet is, but John Wick looks back over his shoulder, and Ian McShane just looks at him, just kind of like shrugs. He's like, I don't know, what else is my character gonna do?
Yeah, who am I if I don't have my hotel? I mean, that's basically it. So,
like Lawrence Fishburne's character, like he was in the second one as like, you know, all these characters, underworld frenemy of John Wick, and now he is just like, he has like a boat and he travels the sewers of all countries, I guess, because that was his character. He lives in the Bowery of New York, like in the bowels of the Bowery. Okay, that's why he's Bowery King, Bowery, New York, and
but also in France.
I guess, yeah, they've synonymous Bowery and the bowels of a city, and so he just lives in the sewer with. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care because I love
At
seeing
one
him
point,
there.
I was just like, John Wick, don't even come out of the sewer. Just stay down there, and you'll be fine because there's a gate up, and somebody has to let you in. So just stay. What are you doing?
But then maybe the
that's
hitman
not
will
the
come
John
down
Wick
there.
way. Yeah, I guess. I mean, he did have a pretty. He was at what, like 40 million at the end there.
I think they got up to 40, and that was because of Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody was the one
was.
bidding up.
Yeah, Mr.
Up
Nobody's
Bill
like,
Skarsgård.
no, that's not, no, and kept hanging up on the guy. Like, nope. Yeah, so, I mean, at the end, we assume that John Wick is sitting there on the steps of Sacré-Cœur, and he's got a lot of bullet wounds in him. Some of them look pretty mortal. And he just slumps over to the side. And the next scene we see, he's there, Ian McShane character, and is it Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah, they're the two. They're the two who have been with him the longest. So.
Yeah, they're at a gravesite where John Wick's wife was buried, and now there's a memorial stone next to her.
Loving husband.
Loving husband. Yeah, loving husband.
So silly. That woman has even less lines than he does in the first. Like she has also no lines. Like this is.
Oh, she had no lines in this one. We saw at the end when he's dying that he's, having a memory of her and kissing her, and that's pretty much it. Who's taking care of he has a new dog, right?
Bowery King takes care of that dog.
Oh, okay. That's
he gave it to him in one of the episodes. Okay. I don't know.
Very worried about the dog situation. So that's the last scene that we see, and we left the theater as soon as the major credits started rolling. So didn't know that there was a post-credit scene.
There's a post-credit scene where the daughter of Koji, who was the one in charge of the Osaka hotel, has apparently tracked down Kane, Donnie Yen's character, because he killed the father. So question mark sequel spinoff something, Well,
there's already Ballerina out there, which is the John Wick world, right?
Yeah. So we'll talk about post John Wick now. One, I didn't think he was going to die in this. I really didn't. I thought they were making a fifth one back to back, and I guess that didn't happen. And I don't know. Apparently, Keanu and Stahelski are like questionable about coming back. Like they're like, they're in the like we're kind of done right now. And if he came back, like if you're done for now, Keanu's 58. Like,
right?
Like, are we gonna get taken on us? Like, or like a lot of aggressive cutting to make it look real? Like, he's only gonna be able to be Kung Fu Man for so much longer. Like, this is
I don't. Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, we're getting another Harrison Ford.
Okay. So. Harrison Ford is not doing the same stuff John Wick has to do.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah, John Wick still does like a lot of his own work. Like he did
Keanu Reeves, you mean?
What'd I say?
John Wick.
Well, he does.
John Wick does all of his own work.
Yeah, sure. Keanu Reeves he trained for this and Matrix Resurrections at the same time. So he's historically done, and the way Chad Stahelski shoots too, like he shoots specifically in long uncut sequences so that you can see the action, and I think that's what draws a lot of people to this, and that's why it's made by a former stuntman, Keanu, who's like a movie star known for big block, but like he's not known for being an actor. He's in The Matrix, he's Bill and Ted, and he's John Wick. Those are what he's known for. So either dumb stoner guy or ass kickers. And so this is just like a showcase for people who like to do stunts and big cool things to just show off. And then Derek Kolstad comes up and does a basic screenplay, and like he's like, all right, stamp it, send it off, let's go.
So are you saying this is like murder mystery when it's Adam?
No,
what's his name? Adam Sandler getting all his friends together and going to foreign lands. I mean, this is Keanu Reeves getting all his friends together and going to foreign lands.
Because this takes effort and work. It's literally like the amount
You
of
don't
work.
see any similarities, not one.
The amount of work
I
it took to do that one scene where John Wick spins around in the car for like 20 seconds straight in the Arc to Triumph shooting guys, and you think it's gonna cut to another thing. It's gonna cut, and he spins around. He does
There's
a
no cut.
920. He goes around it so many times. Like the amount of work to choreograph that one shot was way more work than the murder mystery duology in its entirety.
I'm just pointing out a similarity.
I'm pointing out the glaring, most important difference in that. Well, one is a tax write-off to make movies while you're on vacation, and one is a piece is craftsman making something that's never been made to this scale. Like I've never seen an action movie, like a kung fu action movie like this, as good as John Wick 4. Like,
now I want to see. I know I mentioned Wes Anderson earlier, but I'm going to mention him one more time just because what I want to see now is his movie that takes place in the funicular going up while the John Wick movie is happening on the steps.
Oh, there's like a short. He has like a short where it's just like
where he's
just
going up
right on it.
The funicular.
It's a lock shot of the guy. He pulls a little lever and it goes up in like a cartoony paper mache. Like
the music in the background. I think it would be amazing.
And then Johnny Yen and John Wick are murdering everybody in the right.
We're giving ideas for free now. I mean, copyright.
What was it called? Ballerina? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So Ballerina is supposed to be the next one. I think Ana de Armas is tied to it.
Yeah, but my concern is the director of Ballerina is the guy who made the Resident Evil movies, or like the Underworld, maybe not Resident Evil, Underworld, the Underworld movies, the ones with what's her name, the British Kate Beckinsale.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's not, and those are all. Just watch a trailer for one of those, and you're like, this is like. Oh, it's a step above Uwe Ball, but it's got John Wick and I think Ian McShane's supposed to be like cameos probably, so I'm skeptical about that. And then they're also making like a TV show, HBO Max show. What's it called?
Like a spinoff?
The Continental from the world of John Wick. So I guess it's about the Continental, which I like
based on the hotel.
Yeah, the hotel is that was the thing that busted the world open, because before the Continental was like the first step into what if everyone's a hitman and everything is hitman in this world? Because like I said, the first movie, John Wick, is just some thugs killed drug lords killed my dog or whatever, so I go on revenge. Like it was not anything more complicated than that, and then that worked. And then the second one, they're like, what if we make it bigger? And then that also worked. They're like, I guess we'll just keep going, and then they just kept working.
Make it even bigger,
Like I like this movie. These movies, all four of them, I think, are all at least high 80s on Rotten Tomatoes, with Metacritic and IMDb following in the 7s at least. Like these are four well-received movies by audiences and critics alike. They all made money. Everyone don't hear like they just seem. But unstoppable.
If you take out these long actions, these long, with small cuts action scenes, that's not going to work because we've already discussed that's what this movie is.
No, as I say, if you went to Top Gun and took out the scenes where they flew the planes, then no one would want to see Top Gun. I'm like, well, yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is that unless you bring people on board that have the capability of doing what this other director has done for the John Wick franchise, it's going to taint it big time.
Yeah, and that's why Len Weissman, by the way, is the name of that director who did the stupid fucking Underworld movies.
Yeah.
I'm going to see those probably because I bought in, but I fully aware that this is probably the peak. This is probably...
Yeah.
This is their Empire Strikes Back or Return of the King or whatever nerd franchise you love. This is enjoy 4 while it lasts, because it's in all likelihood the pinnacle, and then it's only going to be watered down, not as good. Possibly
unless they bring back
franchise ruining crap.
Keanu and stuff,
they could
just as it is now.
Unless
So.
unless they literally make 5 and they just keep, because like 3, we've established the plots like barely need to matter. They need to make just barely enough sense to hang action sequences on. If they don't, if this team doesn't stop thinking of cool ways to kill people, they can make this as long as they want. Like that's that's kind of what it is. Like cool ways to fight things. And
I was going to say cool. It's not even cool ways to kill people. It's just cool ways to fight. Yeah,
cool ways to fight. And like they had new ones in this one, and then like this one was the freshest. This one felt like the most like. They had to keep going, and they kept going, and that's why maybe I like this one the most, because it literally is a building block on the others. Each one feels like a bigger, strong. I think I've liked each one more as the John Wicks have gone on. They just keep getting stronger, and I feel like if you don't come back with the same exact team, if you shell your work out to the likes of Len Weissman, and you make a TV series, a limited series, I mean, oh great, now what? This is going to be another Marvel Star Wars.
I was just going to say, we've
Game
talked about how...
No one likes any of that.
Yeah,
no one gives a shit about
how
that.
that... Yeah, you don't... I would rather watch something really good every 2 years or every 3 years than just keep getting a bunch of stuff. I don't need content.
Protect your neck. That's what we got to say. Protect your neck, John Wick. You're cool right now. Don't be like all the other films things I just said that aren't cool anymore. They're all horrible and they're all
but
washed
they're probably
up
going to make money, and that's what that's what the bottom line is.
We could stop right now, though. You could stop right here.
You could,
or you can make John Wick 5, the one that everyone wants. It was a secret. We still there's still much we don't know anything really about the High Table at all. There's still plenty of characters still alive. You do John Wick faked his death to live in peace, and then he had to come back one more time because they captured Donnie Yen and the Bowery King and Winston. All of them. They're all tied up to a bomb, and they're like, John, help us! And then there's a room full of 1,000 people, and he kills every single person, and he saves them.
And then the person that's really in charge is Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, here you go.
Like, oh no!
He planned this out. He rebuilt him from the ground up so that he could take over for his own nefarious purposes. It writes itself.
Again, another
Morbius.
idea. You're welcome, people.
You can come back for one more, guys. Mama K, do you recommend John Wick Chapter 4?
Yeah, I do. Surprisingly, yes. It's probably not going to be my number one movie of the year like Bullet Train was, but...
Would you have guessed Bullet Train was going to be your number one movie of the year when you saw it?
Once I saw it, I did. Yeah, I was pretty
Once I saw it, I did.
Well, I was just like, I saw John Wick. I'm hoping that something else that I see this year is... I already know that something else I see this year is going to be my favorite movie. So, this is, when I was thinking about going to see Bullet Train, I was just like, this looks fun. And then when I left, I was like, this is the best thing. This is the best thing. And nothing's going to touch it. So I didn't get that feeling walking out of John Wick.
54% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think Bullet Train does. It's rotten.
What's wrong with people? It's so good.
It's fucking rotten. This is such a crime. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
What's wrong with people?
I recommend John Wick Chapter 4 very highly. It's topping my list right now for the 2023. I mean, we got a long way to go, and usually the second half is stronger than the first, but man, that was awesome. It was so good. I need to go see it again while I still can in theaters, because I want to see that casino scene again. It's so good. the poker hand scene.
I probably will not go see it again in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not going to be quite worth it. But if you're leaving another showtime and John Wick's playing down the hall and it's about halfway in, you're like, I could go see that. Oh no,
that's
right
sleepy
now.
time for me.
Well, if you have things to recommend, it's 2 recommends for John Wick 4. So if you have things to recommend to us, Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook. Reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Brennan_podhost. And you can email the show, filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Thanks for being on John Wick Chapter 4, Mama K.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. It's literally his catchphrase. He says it it's the last words in the third one, where Lawrence Fishburne's like, "You ready to get to work, John?" And he looks at the camera and he goes, "Yeah,
maybe."
That's what he says. That's what he said to the 5th one when they asked him. Until next time, this is Brennan signing off, saying thanks for listening and enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.